I think we are rolling. Hi guys, it's Brad, and I know I haven't made a video in a very long time. I actually just moved back to Rialto and all that. But of course, you don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about my thoughts on possibly, I think, one of the worst movies I have ever seen. It's probably worse than the last one that I reviewed. I don't know. But I kind of went back and forth on this. I either wanted to do a written review of the next best thing or do an actual video review like I'm doing right now. They were I'm just going to warn you right now. This is probably going to be a very long, very tangent filled video. So if you just want to know if Madonna's movie The Next Best Thing is worth seeing, you can stop right now because it's not. It's awful. It's beyond awful. It's hard because at first I didn't have the words for it. There was just so many things wrong with the movie. It was ridiculous. I couldn't really put it into words, and I think one of the main problems with the movie was the fact that it has Madonna in it. I'm sorry. I mean, uh, you're all probably thinking, well, what do you expect? It's a movie starring Madonna and it has Rupert Everett in it, and what were you expecting? And true, I kind of did this to myself. I mean, I watched The Next Best Thing on Netflix, and it was one of those things I was just curious about. I'm always curious to see how sucky Madonna can be in a movie. So I really wanted to watch it. Um, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it first. The Next Best Thing, of course, is about two best friends, Abby, played by Madonna, and Robert, who's played by Rupert Everett. And they're best friends. He's gay, she's straight, whatever. It kind of it's weird because you would think that if you ever see the trailer for it, the movie kind of sets it up as a comedy. It's sort of like a Will and Grace type of sitcom. Like it kind of starts out that way, and it really does. But then some contrived bullshit happens, and it turns out Abby gets pregnant. And it turns out that it's because it's happens to be Robert's baby because they had a drunk-filled night sex thing, and yeah, it's hard for me to believe that it's okay. Let me collect my thoughts real quick. The thing with uh, the whole motivation behind Abby and Robert actually having sex and having this baby is that it is so contrived. Like, here's the thing: they say, "Oh, we have too many drinks. We were both lonely." That's my Rupert Everett impression. And they were just, they made a really bad mistake. They just had sex. And, it didn't mean anything. I find it hard to believe that they were that drunk. Either that or just whoever edited this movie just didn't know how to edit. I saw these two idiots take one or two drinks throughout the entire film, or at least throughout the entire scene. Sorry, throughout the entire scene, they don't act like drunken idiots. They just act like idiots in general. It makes zero sense to me. I mean, it's almost like watching Geely again. How did this happen? You know, they were acting like idiots before they started drinking anyway. And it's hard for me to believe. I don't know. I guess if I had to compare the two, I would still say maybe Geely was a bit more homophobic because supposedly now Abby and Robert have the whole alcohol didn't know we were doing it thing on their side. But even then, that's still hard for me to believe that. But that's actually, believe it or not, that is not what most pissed me off about this movie. Another thing that pissed me off is that there is a tad more homophobia than that. There's a character played by Neil Patrick Harris of all people. Neil Patrick Harris is in here, and he plays one of Robert's gay friends, whose lover, he's just lost to AIDS. You would think they would have dived more into that, but they don't. They actually don't do that. They just mention it, and they sing a little song at the funeral, which I thought was kind of awkward and inappropriate. Uh, but yeah, it just they it seemed like whoever made this movie, it's made by a director I never even heard of. And I don't know who wrote the movie, but it seems like they never met or experienced anything in the LGBTQIA world or in the community or anything like that, because it just seems like they just wanted to add gay themes to say, oh yeah, we're for this, we're for this, and we understand this, just because we just put it as a side note in the movie. Nothing is explored. One of the biggest problems with the next best thing is that it is so hollow. It is so shallow. There is no depth, no emotional weight, no nothing to it. It's just a contrivance after contrivance to mask the fact that, you know what, oh yeah, this is character building when really we're just contrived as shit. We don't think, nobody thinks about anything that they do or say in this movie. Okay, before I get down to why this movie is probably the worst movie I've ever had to see, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the acting here. I'll save Madonna for last. I think you know what I'm gonna say about it. Well, first of all, I feel so sorry for Rupert Everett, Neil Patrick Harris, and Benjamin Bratt. I feel so sorry because you know what? First of all, their careers, I think, with the exception of Neil Patrick Harris, their careers probably won't ever be the same after this. I mean, obviously they're still working in Hollywood and they still have movies and TV stuff they're doing. But it's just not the same. It's kind of like with Holly Berry and Catwoman. Yeah, she still works, but yeah, there's still a stain there. Granted, the next best thing is a very small movie. It's not as widely known as Catwoman, so I guess they have that there. Rupert Everett, I think, he's trying so hard. I think out of the three, he tries the hardest. Especially in this courtroom scene, which I won't give too much away, but he just really tries, and you can see that. But you know what? Good acting can't save a bad script. It can't save horrible direction. It can't, you know, all that. So there's that. I would say that Madonna. Okay, I've only seen three Madonna movies, this one included. Uh, I already have said in a written review before that her acting has no depth. It has no caring. She really just thinks the character will do the acting for her. That she just has to read the lines and not feel them. And really, that she has the same problem here. She never comes across as someone who would actually exist. She never says anything a normal person would ever say. It's just, she's just not there. And I've said this before, Madonna is just not there. And supposedly she's always wanted to do this acting thing. I Shortly after the next best thing, I think it was after Swept Away actually. After Swept Away, she just stopped acting altogether. And it kind of shows why here because and in Swept Away, she has no range. I don't even think she tries. That's the weird part. This was a lifelong dream for her, supposedly. I heard some time ago, and if that is so true, how come she looks like she doesn't want to be there? How come it looks like she doesn't care? And I know I'm sounding a little bit redundant for anyone who's ever read my reviews. It might sound a little redundant, but it bears repeating. Um, she just doesn't know what to do once the cameras are rolling and they're on her. She doesn't know how to show any real emotion at all in a movie, let alone this one. Okay, bro. So let's talk about one of the major problems I've had. Yeah, how much? the major problems I have with this. First off, no, like I said, and this is not only Madonna's character, but actually I think it's every single character. No one talks like a human being. No one. Okay, there's a scene toward the beginning of the film where Madonna's, uh, Abby's boyfriend is leaving her, and they have this argument. It made me giggle. It made me laugh so hard. I was like, "What the hell are you saying? Why?" And it's not even quotable. You have to just, if you can find the scene on YouTube, or if you must, look up the movie on YouTube. Sorry, on Netflix, and just watch that one scene. It is fucking hilarious. It's very, uh, just very off-putting. And you know what? There are other scenes in the movie like that, where people just say the weirdest things. It's not as bizarre as Geely, but it's pretty bizarre. Like it really is. So anyway, let's go a little bit more into the story. So Abby and Robert decide they do not want to get married. They don't want to do any of that. How smart. They're just gonna raise the baby together. They're gonna live together in separate rooms. Everything's gonna be fine. Um, until the son starts asking questions. Why doesn't mommy sleep in the same room with you? Stuff like that. He even asks what a faggot is. And you know how that happens? Again, I'm going into another scene, someone not acting like a real person. There's these kids over for some sort of birthday party or something like that. And these kids I don't know how they bring it up. I forget how they bring it up, but they suddenly just say out of nowhere, "Oh yeah, your dad's a faggot." That's what my dad said. What? And these kids are like 5 or 6 years old. How do they know what a faggot is? Their parents must be the most terrible parents in the world. And they speak like that in front of their children. It is. Oh my god! I was just. What? I was shocked by that. So, after all that, he asks his dad what the faggot word means, and, um, they it's hard to explain that to a 6-year-old. I mean, why even include it in the movie at all? I mean, why would you even need that there? Yeah, sure, it's gonna come up. Someone's gonna say something mean or derogatory or something like that, and you're gonna have, if you're young enough, you're gonna ask a question. But why that young? Why couldn't they make this child, I don't know, 12, 13 years old? Maybe it could have been easier for the character to relate, to, try to understand what's going on in his life with his family. But they don't do that. It's just awkward. It's unneeded. It just comes off pretty random, and I don't think after that one scene where they mention it, and they never bring it up again. It's never brought up how this kid feels, and which kind of ties into the biggest, and I mean this too, and this is what made me angry. This is what made me think that this is a sick movie. Everyone in this movie, including Madonna's character and anybody else in this movie, only cares about themselves. They never once think about how this is affecting their child. They want to talk about alternate lifestyles of living. They want to talk about different ways to raise a child, which those are fine concepts. Don't get me wrong. Those needed to those ways of raising a child and having a different sort of life or whatever, they need to be talked about. But you know what? Nobody involved in this. Whether we're talking about the director, whether we're talking about the writers, whether we're whatever, nobody knows what they're talking about. Like I said, it's almost like they never even talked to someone who was gay or lesbian or bisexual or whatever. They no, there's nothing there. So, and it got me so pissed. And I'm gonna give you a spoiler here. And here's the thing: there's nothing to spoil. If you really want to go out and see this movie, that's your choice. But I'm just gonna give you the spoiler here. All right, here we go. And if you wanna skip until I'm done with the spoiler, that's fine. But uh, you know, here it is. It turns out Robert is not the baby's father. Abby lied to him. She made him stick around for 6 years, raising a child that isn't his. It turns out the boyfriend that she broke up with uh, years and years before was the father. They saw each other one other time, and it turned out that it was his child all along. What a vicious harpy! I mean, yeah, she probably had the best intentions, but you know what? That doesn't excuse the fact that she tricked a guy into raising a child that wasn't his, and she knowingly did it. If she had, and you know what? She figured it out 3 years before that, before this. For 3 years, she kept it. So yeah, it's not like she kept it a secret all throughout that time. She kept it until he was a or sorry, like I said, I don't like doing video reviews. um, she kept it a secret for 3 years and didn't even bother to tell him until the whole custody battle comes because Madonna's character is now engaged to Benjamin Bratt, and there is a possibility that the two of them will move to New York, and Abby wants to take the kid with them. And Robert doesn't want that because no one, rightfully so, he thinks, it's his kid, and God, and you should have seen me last night. I was angry, but that's beside the point. So yeah, again, nobody, especially I think Abby. I think Abby might be the worst offender when it comes to being selfish in this movie. They never once consider what they're doing to their child. No one ever considers what's happening to what's the kid's name? Sam. Yeah. That nobody ever considers what they're doing and how this is affecting Sam, how all of their selfish bullshit behavior is affecting them. And the movie never dives into that either. It's not like it was intentional. The movie never dives into that. They try to do it once, but he seems pretty oblivious to it, and he doesn't know what's going on, and and they don't ever try to explain that, and that's what really pissed me off about it. That's what really made me just lose it for for the for the majority of the film, and it just yeah. Is it the worst movie? The absolute worst movie I've ever seen? Probably not. This movie came out the same year that Battlefield Earth came out, and of course it was the movie that swept the Razzies. Battlefield Earth won Worst Picture and all that. So yeah, and Battlefield Earth was harder to sit through. I actually, just to let you guys know, I forgot to tell you this in my review for Battlefield Earth. It's one of the only movies that I could not get through in one sitting. Halfway through, I stopped the movie, fell asleep, and then the next day I finished it. It was that hard to watch. But we're not talking about Battlefield Earth, are we? But I would still say Battlefield Earth is worse. But man, the next best thing made me so angry. And there's one question. If I could ask one question to Madonna, if I had that chance, to ask her one question about her movie career, I would ask her, with the gay following that you have, you made Vogue, you made other great empowering songs that gay people look up to, and the LGBT community looks up to you and all that. Knowing that, and knowing knowing, and you read the script, obviously, why would you be in a movie like this? Why would you be in a movie that is so insulting, so shallow, so devoid of emotion, knowing the following that you have? And I would ask the same question actually to Neil Patrick Harris, because he's gay too. He's gay in real life, and I mean, granted, I don't even think he was that famous yet. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this was before that TV show he was in or whatever. Uh, but I would ask those people, why would you be in a movie like this? If you, I mean, granted, I think there could be an excuse saying they thought that it was empowering, that they thought it could be uh, revolutionary when it comes to life, alternate lifestyles, or alternate family lives, or different ways of raising a child, or something like that. But even then, I think even when you read the script, I mean, obviously I've never read it. I just watched what transpired on screen. But with everything that I've seen, if I read the script, I would be disgusted. I would be just just totally insulted, totally just bewildered that someone wrote something like this. And it just makes me wonder. Granted, this movie came out in 2000. A lot of people say, "Oh, we've always been open to LGBT youth or the LGBT community in general, and all that." But the only time people started taking this issue seriously, of course, is when people started dying. Why does that always happen? Why do we have to have innocent people die in order to make an issue come into the light and have people actually think, oh yeah, maybe we were being ignorant assholes? Why does it have to be that way? Why couldn't there have been, okay, I'm going off on a tangent again. I'm totally going off on a tangent, but you know what I mean, right? Like, this movie, The Next Best Thing, this is a movie that totally just, you know, explains why so many people were ignorant in that time period. And why so many people were just so close-minded to to this to this issue, and to this community, and to these people. No one, gay, straight, man, woman, whatever, no person in this movie is real. No one is relatable. I can't. I'm sure there are some people out there like Madonna's character Abby. There are probably people out there like, you know, whoever else. I don't care. But we're supposed to be relating to these people because they're the main characters. You have top billing. Your characters are front and center throughout the entire film. We're supposed to be on board with you. We're supposed to get you. We're supposed to understand where you're coming from. I don't get you. I don't like you. I don't understand where you're coming from because you're a horrible person. And really, that's what really sinks the ship with me. Honestly, the whole homophobia, while it did bother me, it wasn't the main issue why I hated this movie so much, but it definitely was a contributing factor to it. Um, and again, I would stress here that if you're going to watch this movie, don't. Just avoid it. Avoid it at all costs. It's a terrible, terrible idea. It's it's just horrendously bad. It's hard to put into words, but yeah, that was my video. So I know I probably went ranted and raved and or whatever about all this, and that's why I don't like doing video reviews. But honestly, if I wrote all this down, I probably would have gone off on a tangent. I would have, you know, it would have been the longest review I've ever written. It probably would have been even longer than my Catwoman review, which is pretty long. Uh, the next best thing will be one of those movies that I look back on and be like, yeah, this is one of those movies where I can just pick it apart piece by piece until there's nothing left, and I could. I can talk about this movie for another hour, but I won't do that. So yeah, that was my experience with the Madonna film, The Next Best Thing. Stay away from it. Don't watch it. It's a terrible movie. You'll waste your time. And I think the movie's only like an hour and 7 minutes or something like that. It's not very long, but it's still horrendously terrible. Alright, so that's my review of it, and let me know in the comments, or you can email me or whatever, and tell me what should be my next review, whether it be a video review or a written one. Thank you. Have a nice day.